Yeah.
Well, no?
No.
Thank you. Phil's just said I've got a big mouth. So.
This mic should be working as well.
Okay. Thank you. Morning everyone. I just want to say a big thank you for allowing us to be here today. And I know that sounds odd because you would expect patients to be involved in conferences like this all the time, but that's pretty rare. I think it says an awful lot about this sector and the importance of speaking to patients, understanding the whole story. Like our previous speaker was saying, you need to find out as much as you can about the actual person that you're working with, because that's kind of where all the clues are. My name's Nanette Meller, and I'm Chief Executive of the Brain Charity, and I'm here with Pearl Kelly today, and Pearl is a service user and a volunteer at the Brain Charity as well. I'm not going to say an awful lot today. What I really wanted to be here for was to introduce you to Pearl and kind of follow up what Pearl has told you, her story about the services that we deliver, in order for you to understand that whole story and how a neurological condition can affect somebody. So very briefly, we are the Brain Charity. We are unique. We are the only one in the country that supports individuals with any neurological condition in terms of offering them social care. And when I say social care, what I mean is emotional support, practical help, and social activities. We've been around 25 years. We were set up by consultants here at the Walton Centre, we've got a staff team of about 31 at the moment and a volunteering team of about 82. So we're a 100 plus strong team, and we are growing. We're getting bigger all the time. Some of our services are now national services, and one day we hope that there will be a centre like one we have here in Liverpool in every setting. I'm going to hand you over to Pearl now, who's going to talk to you all about her story, and there'll be some opportunity to ask us any questions you like at the end as well. So over to you, Pearl.
Hi, I'm Pearl. I'm a volunteer at the Brain Charity. Like many people at the Brain Charity, I have a neurological condition. In fact, I have quite a few. I have neurofibromatosis, scoliosis, kyphosis, dual ectasia, osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, depression, anxiety, supraventricular tachycardia, silent tachycardia, hiatus hernia, which all affect me on a daily basis. I take 48 tablets a day. I use 2 crutches and a wheelchair. I live in constant pain 24/7. In the past, my heart has reached 320 beats per minute. I am always at risk of heart attack or cardiac arrest. I get breakfast just by walking for a few seconds. I go to 7 hospitals, up to 8 times a month for hospital appointments, and I usually end up in A&E about 6 times a month as well. I have had 20 surgeries in the past 16 years, several of which is to remove my tumour. But sadly, Kevin, which what I call my tumour, continues to grow back. Kevin, which funny enough is also the name of my line manager at the Brain Charity, is now currently the size of a watermelon. I had my first laser treatment on my birthmark when I was 5 years old. As some of you here will know, my spine is currently in the process of crumbling away due to my osteoporosis. I spoke to my surgeon about 8 months ago and he talked me through the options. He said that surgery may help, but I didn't want to have surgery on my spine at that point. Unfortunately, since then my spine and breathing has got a lot worse. My doctor told me that I am at now kind of crossroads. If the surgery isn't performed soon, it'll be too late. I'll be completely wheelchair bound, I'll find breathing more difficult. I actually had spine surgery when I was 8 years old. They had to insert 2 metal rods and screws to straighten my spine because it was severely curved due to the scoliosis and kyphosis. But as soon as I had the surgery, I stopped growing, which meant I've stayed at 4 foot for the past 14 years. The surgery took 10 hours to perform and I had 3 cardiac arrests during the process. I had to decide whether or not to go ahead with the surgery. I knew that it just wouldn't be 1 operation, it would be 2. The first will take 14 hours and I'll be in hospital for 6 weeks, and the second will take 12 hours and I'll be in hospital for 6 weeks again. At first I didn't want to have surgery because of the risks, but now getting out of breath is getting really difficult just by walking a few feet. So I'm pretty certain I'm going to have this surgery, but I'm a bit scared. But if I managed to do this when I was 8, I think I can do it now. As I said, my tumour is called Kevin and he's caused me no end of problems. Several surgeries, some of which have left me with wounds that wouldn't heal. I was meant to have surgery on Kevin in 2016, but the day of the surgery I ended up having an SVT episode, so they had to cancel it. When I had my first SVT episode back in 2014, my heart rate went to 320 beats per minute. I was given 2 lots of adenosine, which was the worst feeling ever. I am now having more surgery on Kevin this year, which will be times over the years where I haven't healed properly and the pain's been unbearable, where the only way I could walk was by putting my crutch in front of me, taking my hand out my crutch to lift my leg up to take every single step, and then putting my hand back in the crutch. During this particular period, which lasted about 4 months, I couldn't carry a drink because I couldn't walk unaided. So I had to actually use a baby bottle to put a drink in, so I could make a drink for myself instead of getting someone to do it for me. And I had to go up and down the stairs on my bum. I couldn't put my socks and shoes on, I couldn't wash myself. Life can be very hard because of all the pain and health problems I face, but there are also many problems I have to deal with. For instance, last year I used to receive PIP. This PIP is made to help people who are disabled with extra costs due to their disabilities, such as travel expenses. But unfortunately my PIP was stopped last year and I had to go to court, but finally I won in the end. Trying to do well at school, finding a job, managing money and getting out and about are all things that many people take for granted. It can be so hard for people with neurological conditions. The Brain Charity has a range of services which help people to cope with their everyday lives, and now Lynette is going to talk to you about them now. Hand over to Lynette.
Okay. So, like Pearl alluded to there, all of those practical things that we all take for granted can be really, really extremely difficult for people. And one of the reasons we were really keen for Pearl to come and speak to you today is because Pearl is affected in lots and lots of different ways. Pearl mentioned her welfare benefits there. She mentioned PIP, which is the personal independence payment. You've probably heard on the radio about the changes that are taking place within the benefits system. Our building is absolutely ram-packed on a Friday, that's when we run the drop-in, of people with neurological conditions that are coming with their benefits forms and they are panicking. And there are an awful lot of people out there at the moment whose first concern is money, because their money is being stopped. It's an incredibly difficult system to navigate. If you have a cognitive issue, if you have a learning disability, if you can't read and write, that system is just impossible to try and get through. Money problems, debt problems, all of these things cause major, major stress for people. And the stress, of course, is going to compound in the kind of medical problems that they've got. Employment, basic skills, services and courses, we run those as well. Just thinking about your career and how important it is to you and how much of your identity it is, if you can imagine having that taken away. You're no longer somebody who's interested in neuroscience. You might be interested in it, but you're not going to follow it as a career path anymore. That's been taken away from you. Actually, you may never work now. So now, who are you? Just thinking about that and how that can completely change somebody's life. We deal with legal services. We help people navigate the legal system. So some people who come into the Walton Centre, they may have been beaten to a pulp at the weekend, and now all of a sudden their life is absolutely unrecognisable. They can't feed themselves anymore. They're going to lose their job. They may lose their house because they've lost their job. That person may need a big compensation package. They may have lost capacity. It might be a terminal situation where now we're going to have to deal with the whole family around that person and their will and so on. So the legal side of things, again, is incredibly complex, and trying to navigate that while you're going through that crisis is very, very difficult. We also look after the carers at the charity too. So we have a carers advocacy service. If you're a carer, the likelihood is that you're going to be tired and going to be stressed out. And if we don't look after the carer, we don't look after the loved ones, they then can't look after the individual. So again, when you're out there, when you're working with a patient, think about the whole situation. Make sure the carer's okay too. If they aren't, seek out help for them. We have staff here working at the Walton Centre, and their remit is to try and do anything the medical staff can't do. So if the person comes around from a coma and their first worry is, oh my God, who's fed the dog for the last 3 days? We go out and feed the dog, because that may be their number one concern at that point. They might have run out of money. They might need some clean clothes. And all of those things, if they're preying on somebody's mind, are going to prevent them from getting well. So this side of their life is really, really key. The social side. A lot of people, because of their condition, may have a personality change. Because of that, they may lose their wife, their husband. They may lose their friends. So this side of their life is really, really key. The social side. A lot of people, because of their condition, may have a personality change. Because of that, they may lose their wife, their husband. They may lose their friends. That happens quite a lot. So the social side of their life can completely change. People's confidence can really be affected to the point at which they don't want to go out anymore. They stay in. They get isolated. They get depressed. So this is a kind of another key area of what we do. We help people come out, be around people like themselves, feel good about themselves again. And then there's the whole emotional side of life. A neurological condition may have a very physical impact on somebody's depression and their anxiety. When you're dealing with neurology, people are also faced with doubting who they are, doubting what they think, how they feel about things. It's a really, really complex thing to try and deal with. If you have somebody who's been diagnosed with something terminal, then not only are they going to be extremely anxious about that, that's going to be the first thing they think about every morning when they wake up, and it's going to be the last thing they think about when they go to bed at night. They also may get to the stage again where they are not sure who they are anymore, where they're not sure where they're going, where they're not sure whether they like the food they're eating, whether they recognise their loved ones. It's an emotional roller coaster. So again, the service tries to help out with things like one-to-one counselling, right through to a coffee morning. Somebody can come into a room full of people who are just like them and feel okay. There's a national information and advice service attached to the charity, and I just wanted to highlight that to you guys. Anybody can phone us up and ask us anything. It might be somebody from, I don't know, Ireland who's looking for a wheelchair for their gran. They can phone up and ask us about that. It might be somebody with a really, really rare condition who lives on the Isle of Wight, and they haven't got any information because they've been to see their consultant, and their consultant's gone, it's a really, really rare thing, can't do much about it, here's a leaflet, see you in 6 months. And so they go home and they Google, and if they Google a rare condition, it's likely that will come up. We've got some new services that have just started as well. We're going to be doing some experimental work. We've just won a big grant from Children in Need, which is to integrate occupational therapy into arts-based activities, and speech and language therapy into music-based services. We do a similar thing for people with dementia, and we've also just started to run some group therapy. I won't talk a lot about that, but that's kind of who we are and how we run. So, I know we've rushed through that, but that's because I wanted to give you plenty of time for questions. Pearl, are you happy for anyone to ask you anything? Pearl's really chill back there.
Yeah.
Anybody want to know anything about any of that? Yes.
Pearl, I wanted to ask about Kevin.
Yeah.
When did you name Kevin? Have you found that naming him has actually helped?
I think it has, yeah. I think it's been called Kevin for the past year. I just thought, you know what, I might as well give it a nickname. I call it a few other things, but I'm not going to say that.
Have you found that it's helped with kind of almost dealing with Kevin at all, or giving it some sort of identity instead of referring to it as a tumour or such?
I think it's just more like laid back. It's what I am, like just laid back, chill, in terms of what you want. Instead of calling it a tumour, which sounds dead aggressive.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you know, be careful with Kevin. I'm like, who's Kevin? I'm a tumour, be careful, you know, he's very sensitive. You don't talk bad about him because he'll come after you. But yeah, that's kind of helped a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry, would you meet your manager Kevin first and then name your student Kevin?
False the name.
No.
That's what she tells Kevin.
Yeah.
How do service users normally get in touch with you to start with? How do they find out about Brain Charity?
We actually pick up about 70% of our referrals from the Walton Centre. So the two staff members I mentioned before, they have a kind of pod, we call it, in outpatients, and they do ward rounds as well. So if a nurse or a consultant has met somebody who is suffering in the kind of social care sphere for one reason or another, then they can call down and one of our staff members will come up and see to that person. And the rest are self-referrals, referrals from charities, referrals from social services, from other charities, from wherever. And people can self-refer, anybody can refer it. There's no kind of barriers, there's no form you need to fill in. You can phone up, you can email us, you can just walk through the door.
What kind of fundraising events do you do as a charity?
We do everything and everything. We run a big ball each Christmas. So this is our biggest fundraiser, and basically we invite as many rich people as we can to that ball. We get them drunk and then we fleece them. And that's basically what we do. And we do all sorts of little bits and pieces as well. So we run fundraising in the centre, don't we? We have events there. You'll see the odd rat lead in supermarkets, you name it. If you're going to fundraise, and we spend about 750,000 a year, if you're going to fundraise, you need to kind of be diverse about how you do it. We'll give anything a go, really.
And is that how you get all your income, or is there any other government type things?
We have one local authority contract, and that's for our carers advocacy service. We also run a room hire business in our centre and a cafe. So we do a little bit of business activity. We raise about £150,000 through business. So again, it's kind of the income streams are whatever we can do. We've just branded our new tea range. So we have a tea range now. There is a tea blending company in Liverpool called the Lady Liver Tea Company, and they came to see us and they spoke us through the various ingredients and said, look, we can mix them up for your clients for free if you like. So we have a new tea range for sale now. And they do things like help you relax. There's a new one, a nice spicy one, which has got a lot of turmeric in it, which is good for the brain, for certain conditions. Again, we will try anything.
I have a question for Pearl. So I know that you're very active with your vlogs, and you've got your YouTube videos, and you post a lot on Facebook. What is it that motivates you and inspires you to?
I didn't get one for like my benefit. I went on it to help others. So if they see my story, you can get into contact with me, and then, you know, if they've been diagnosed with something that I've had for the past 15 years, and I can give them better advice. Obviously, like last night, with me having medical terms and everything.
Yeah. And you know, you said in your talk you see a lot of doctors regularly.
Yeah.
Is there something, you know, what is it that makes a good doctor from your perspective? What would you want student doctors to embody when they become actual doctors?
I usually get about 4 or 5 student doctors in the room with me. I'm just fascinated. Like, oh, can we be in? Like, more than merrier. If you want to bring the whole lot in, you can go. I don't know really.
Yeah.
You had a doctor who was your favourite doctor?
Yes.
Why were they your favourite?
Because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. Obviously, he saved my life when I had the spine surgery. Obviously, I had 3 cardiac, so he, like, saved my life basically.
Yeah. So there you go, that's how to be a good doctor, save everybody's lives. That's the best thing you can do.
Have you ever had any negative experiences with doctors? Is there anything that you think is best avoided on our behalf?
What do you mean?
Something a doctor that has done that you felt wasn't appropriate or has annoyed you, or?
Yes. I had a seizure in bed 2016. I can't move the next much anyway, but I couldn't feel it or lift it or anything. Was unconscious for a while. I think I was having a fit for maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. Went to physically, really like out of it, didn't know what day it was, like just completely, like didn't have a clue where it was. Got there for like 1 in the morning. I think it was about maybe 7:30, 7:45. I was begging to pay me because I was in so much pain. And because I'm on like 50 tablets a day, like morphine, she come in with 2 paracetamol, and I was like, I don't want Tic-Tacs, I want my pain relief. So I said, I'll be in funny, but I refused to go for an x-ray until I get pain relief for being here for 8 hours. I need something because I was in so much pain. And they sent me for giving pain relief, sent me for an x-ray. About 3 hours later, the doctor told me to go home. And I said, you know, I can't go home. Something's not right. Like I said in the speech, that the only way I could walk was by put my crutches forward, take my hand out, let me do that. But that's the only way I could walk for like 5 months. About 5 days after the fit, I had some TV filming to do in Manchester, and because I was in so much pain, like I didn't really speak much, so that like interview just went down the drain. And then 2 days after TV filming, I went back to the hospital. Went to A&E, I was like having so much pain, and they said, oh, you've got a pubic rami fracture. But they didn't tell me, so I've been walking on it for 2 weeks, and they didn't like inform me. So it actually got worse. So it hasn't actually healed properly now, it's still kind of like deformed.
Why do you think they didn't tell you that?
Because I put a complaint in, and then I got a letter and he said, we didn't tell you because you were over 19 and this type of wig shouldn't be seen in like old people. But obviously because I've got osteoporosis, they should have checked.
So they didn't know actually that it was there?
Because I don't think they bothered to properly look, because they thought she's not going to have a break at this age, she's only 19.
So again, it's looking at the whole picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking at everything that's going on.
So yeah, it's not healed still, that's 3 years ago.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.